Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here, coming at you from the Knife Center, and welcome to episode 144 of Knife AQ, the knife series where I answer all your questions, whether they're sharp or dull. This week, one of the things we're looking at is, what's the best knife for a survival kit inside a water bottle? All right, if you're new to this series, the deal is we take questions from our comments section and try to answer them the best we can, essentially. So if you've got a question that you think is worthy of inclusion in a future episode, or even if you're not sure it's worthy.
Worth a try.
Worth a try. We'd still love to hear your questions. Leave them in the comments section below this video, and it'll have a shot. First question today comes from Hanoti. Hey DCA, the German YouTube format 7 vs. Wild has this year's contestants survive out of a wide-mouth 1-liter Nalgene bottle for 2 weeks, plus clothing and a med kit. Which folding survival knife that fits into the bottle would you pick? I was thinking Cold Steel 4MAX Scout, but does that even fit? Okay, I'll preface this by saying I am not familiar with the program, the 7 vs. Wild that you're speaking of, so I don't know what kind of environment they're going into, what sort of other restrictions may or may not be in place.
We also don't speak German.
Just trying to think if I had.
Might be a barrier.
I probably have some German, but it maybe draw a blank right there because I wasn't ready for it. But anyway, so let's just go at it from what are some good knives to fit into a Nalgene bottle. Never thought I would say that statement before. Here we go. Here is an Nalgene bottle. It's a Maxpedition Nalgene bottle, actually. And to measure it, I've got a 2x12-inch ruler right here. Let's pop the top off. The kind of dimensions you're going to be working with, start with the one on the bottom, shall we, is a roughly 2-inch opening at the widest point and almost 8 inches right there. It's like 7 3/4 to the top lip by this measurement. Yeah, you can go in at an angle, maybe like give yourself a little extra wiggle room, but that's more or less the length you're talking about. Now, I don't know if they're stipulating that it has to be, I'll leave the lid off, I'm gonna use that, a plastic Nalgene bottle, because, I say that because normally when I think of a water bottle survival kit, I think of something like this. This Maxpedition bottle holder. We actually sell these here at the Knife Center. You can find links below. Pouches on the front, or a pouch on the front that you can stick stuff into, and Molly on the sides you can add more stuff to. And inside this is actually mine, I have my stainless steel Nalgene, or actually it's a Guyot bottle who Nalgene kind of took over from them, and are making the stainless steel versions. Reason being is you could actually boil water in this. A lot harder to do in the plastic here, but you're gonna lose 3/8 of an inch, almost 1/2 of an inch in height. No matter, I think I would still take the added versatility of the container here. Also, I like the Prometheus Design Works cap that we sell here as well. That's on mine. But I would personally take this, but for the illustration purposes, because you can see through it here into this here bottle, we'll use this one. Let's talk about knives, shall we?
We are a knife channel.
Here is the 4MAX Scout, and the problem with this is it is going to be too wide. I might be able to shove it down through in there, but you might not be able to get it out. Might crack your bottle in the process too. If you wanted to stay within the Cold Steel family, I'd go with the SR1 full size, not the light. They're the same. The light and the premium version are the same size, but the light version's about $40 with an 8CR steel. For about $144, you can get S35 VN with the G10 handles. Very robust blade. The triad lock is probably one of the first choices I would look to if I'm looking for a folder for this type of scenario because of its strength and durability, and that is easily going to fit in the Nalgene. I don't own one of these, however. If I were going to go with something that I already owned, Benchmade's Adamas I think would also be a really nice trick. Crewwear steel, very tough, more expensive still, yes, but I like the fact that this is more easily one-handed closable. I like that it is finger safe as well. Your fingers don't get in the path of that blade, and in a life or death scenario, adrenaline is flowing, all it would cost is one tiny mistake to kind of end the game for you. So that little extra degree of passive safety that you don't even have to think about is a nice thing. And that's why I kind of like finger safe locks in general. But anyway, that said, you could go so many different ways with folders, provided it's narrow enough to fit through the lid. I would be more curious in doing something differently. I would be really tempted to go with a multi-tool here and not a fixed or not a folding knife at all. Multi-tools are folding. The Outrider and the Leatherman Signal are two that immediately spring to mind. Yeah, obviously this is not going to be as heavy of a user as something like the any of the knives we just looked at, but throw in a ceramic honing rod along with this and you can keep it sharp and you can do a lot with it. Yeah, you can even baton wood with it. I've seen it done with Swiss Army knives before. Just don't open it all the way and it can be done. With that, you've got lots of extra goodies like a saw, pair of scissors, Phillips screwdriver, and I'm probably not going to help you too much in a survival scenario. The cap lifter there works great as a pry tool. You've got another sharp edge with the can opener here. That's great for scraping out woodworking projects, that sort of thing. And an awl and a corkscrew on the back. A lot of good stuff. You could even throw the Fire Ant fire starter in that corkscrew. And you got more utility in that package, and obviously very easily fits in one of these. The Signal also could be a great choice. Let's see, the Outrider nowadays, I didn't mention the price on that. Those are about $83, $84. The Signal, this is about $140. You've got, in typical Leatherman fashion, a pair of pliers, really handy for manipulating wire and that sort of thing. In a survival scenario, you've got a blade, you've got a saw, you've got a hammering portion here at the bottom, which could come in very handy. And you've got extra goodies. You've got a sharpener on one side, that little diamond stone right there. Great for keeping your edge going. And once you pop this out, I won't, but you can pop this out. You've got a fire starter here on one side and a survival whistle integrated into the yellow part. If we're limited to this amount of space, I would be really tempted by the added utility in the amount of space you could get with this. Yeah, you're giving up some harder use, some extra durability. I don't know. Lots of folks on the Alone show on History have done a lot with just a multi-tool too. So that's really tempting. I'm also a fixed blade junkie at heart, so I started thinking what fixed blades could I squeeze in to this particular sized vessel. I'd probably be willing to give up a little bit of blade length that you could get with the folders for something, full tang, more durable feeling at the very least in the hand. You're not going to be able to chop down a tree with a 4.5-inch blade. So a 3-inch blade, it's not the end of the world, kind of, I guess, if you're dealing with a little bit less blade length. But here's where things get even harder, because while you might think the knife could fit it very easily inside of this vessel, and indeed it could, go all the way down in there, the sheath on any of these fixed blades is going to be the X factor. And that's where this right here, the SE Zancudo with an X, which I love, with S35 VN steel, nice, comfortable G10 handles, and that right there is one of the reasons why I might go for a fixed blade over a folder, is that handle comfort. Limited tools, you're going to be using these a lot more and a lot more heavily than you might otherwise need to if you were able to reach for something better for a given situation. You don't want to be raising blisters, you don't want to wear out your hand, you want to stay comfortable. That's part of why I would go with, I would be tempted by a fixed blade. I love this knife. The sheath, however, precludes it as an option unless you were to customize the sheath or get a custom sheath for it. Out of the box though, this is what I would go with if I went with a fixed blade. It is a Feldkniven and it is the KKZ Colt. 3 3/8 inch blade, so a lot of blade in a small package. It's not quite as much, as the big folders we looked at earlier. It's not too far off either. It's certainly bigger a little bit than the Zancudo in terms of outright, tip to edge or tip to point, tip to handle length. The reason why this one rises to the top for me, apart from being a nice knife, I mean, it's about $178. You've got their laminated cobalt steel, full height convex grind right down to 0. Grippy handles, which I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with grippy rubber handles like this. They aren't going to be as comfortable under long use as something like the G10 on this Zancudo. But they are grippy, and they're going to stay grippy when wet. So there is that to consider as well. This does come with a very robust, very fancy leather sheath, and it will actually fit in the bottle like so, but it does take up a goodly amount of space that would impact your other stuff. There's a trick up the sleeve of this here knife. It also comes with this right here. It is a little plastic clip-in blade cover. It has a loop here at the top for a lanyard. So you could neck carry this knife or slip it into a pocket. If I got to choose the clothes I was bringing, I would make sure I had a zippered pocket so I wouldn't lose this. But that right there, compact as all get out, just enough to keep the blade from cutting up your other items or yourself when it's in the pocket, and easily fits inside of yonder Nalgene, leaving even more room for the other stuff that is going to be essential in a 1 to 2 week, 2 week period. I wouldn't want to do it, but I might go that way. Heck, I mean, now it's got me thinking, can I do both? Are you restricted to just one knife in the rules? I kind of want to do both. Anyway.
Well, they both fit.
I don't know, they might have, like I said, I'm not familiar with the format. Maybe they have restrictions on the certain types of items you can bring. But I would try to let me take a stainless steel water bottle, maybe double up on some tools. I don't know. What would y'all pick? It's a fun thing to think about. And it got me thinking about how I need to rebuild my my water bottle rig as it stands, because right now there's nothing in mine. I need to repack it. All right, next question comes from Binky8501. DCA, I'm a volunteer firefighter looking for a fixed blade rescue type knife, sharpened pry bar / Becker type to keep in my gear bag. I live in an extremely rural area and can oftentimes be the first to arrive at a wreck. I might consider a folder if it were to use enough. I might have made a typo there. If it were strong enough. I definitely wouldn't go with a folder for this case. This is definitely a fixed blade is kind of the answer type of video today. I wouldn't want to be kind of prying with any kind of folder if I could at all avoid it. You could go with the Becker BK3. Not quite rescue-y, but it is a big sharpened pry bar with a sharpened hook on it. But there's something that I think is perfectly made for you. First of all, thank you for your volunteer work. Very important stuff. The Tor Knives Egress SAR is the moneymaker for you. It's expensive. It's a $350 knife, but look at that. I mean, that is going to pry when you need it to. It has a sharpened hook there for belt cutting, some big rough serrations on the backside as well. The ability to get up under is not quite like a sheep's foot style thing going on. It's more of a Thomas's favorite blade shape over there, the reverse Tonto. Actually, no, it's the cheese knife. We all know that.
There's room for two there.
It can be both sometimes. G10 handles, fluted for a little bit of traction. Solid feel in the hand. Not too bulky. I mean, it's a chunky knife, don't get me wrong, but it's not like a Becker BK3. This is something you might be able to more easily integrate into your loadout when you head out. And also, here is the Kydex sheath. This actually forms a useful part of the equation. There's a cutout leading to that sharpened hook right there from the sheath. So as long as you don't have it, or even if you do have it clipped to your belt somehow with like a tech lock or something, pop it off and you can more safely get in under a belt or a piece of clothing to help remove it. These things are just wicked strong. Feel wicked strong anyway. I haven't actually put one to the test, but I've got no doubts. S35 VN, super solid. Maybe check something like that out. All right, next question comes from KingQuinn7. David, serious question that perhaps you've addressed previously. What are some good options for a larger Yes, I know that's subjective, but EDC-able fixed blades, preferably with the included sheath, but I suppose a look at aftermarket sheaths and things like Ulti-Clip or Tech-Lock that could help make a knife work for EDC is also good to investigate. Sure thing. When we get into larger knives that you want to carry day to day, the simple answer is, are you comfortable with it hanging off of your belt and being, visible to everyone around you? Then sky's the limit. Get what you like. Kind of like the folder question in the Nalgene bottle here. You could go so many different ways with that because so many things fit there, and so many fixed blades come with sheaths, right? So I'm going to focus on the kind of in-between things. Like we've got pocket fixed blades, yes, but those by very nature of being able to fit in a pocket aren't very large. And then you've got the larger, outside the belt carry fixed blades. What about some stuff in between? And for me, I've actually carried this knife in this sort of fashion for a while personally, just to see how it worked. The SE3, I think, would be a really good choice. Bit over 3 inches. How much sharpened edge is on an SE3? Actually, I don't even remember. Yeah, almost just over 3 1/4 inches of sharpened edge on that. Tip to scale, you're getting close to 4 inches. Thin handle scales, that's the first thing that I like about it for this. So it's very compact, can be kept very tight to the body. I carried this inside the waistband behind my right love handle over here, and it worked pretty well for me. The grind is nice and thin. 1095 steel, yes, so it is corrosion prone. The black coating will help with that, but if you're worried about sweat and that sort of thing, discoloring, there is an S35VN version of the SE3. Starts at about $144. It does have the 3D printed handle scales, which in any other situation I would recommend wholeheartedly over the flat ones, but they do add a little bit of thickness and girth here. So weigh that against how you plan to carry this and whether or not this would negatively impact that carry scenario. But they are a little bit more comfortable to me, but a little less compact, but they are stainless, as mentioned. The sheath right out of the box will work just fine with this. They are a bit wide perhaps, but they are nice and flat. Comes with a folded metal clip that works great holding it inside the waistband. I've done it, it works well. You could also swap in like an Ulti-Clip or even a Tech-Lock, but that's not gonna work well for the inside the waistband stuff. It could work for horizontal carry, however. I know a lot of folks like to carry a fixed blade horizontal at the small of their back. So that's an option too, but check out the SE3. I think it's not exactly what it's known for, the SE3. It's known for being, an outdoor knife more than anything else, but everything about this I think makes a great daily cutting knife. That thin cross section with the full flat grind, great slicing, nice and compact, built very stoutly as well, despite its thinner steel there. I love it. Check it out. All right, now we come to the lightning round for today. First question's from Jeremy. Hey David, do you have a favorite multi-tool that would be better if you could add a couple of tools and make it more complete for you? For example, I love my Leatherman Signal, but it needs good scissors and a file to make it complete for me. That'd be cool on a Signal, I agree. I would settle though, even for just a plain edged blade on the Signal. I think for a camping tool, plain edge blade I would like better, but yes, I do have an answer for you. I've actually been kind of futzing around with modifying some multi-tools in my spare time, trying to make certain things work for what I want to varying degrees of success or another, but easy answer. Victorinox, can we please get a cadet with a pair of scissors? I would buy like 3 on day one, just so I make sure I have backups, because I would love that. Heck, I would even settle for a Pioneer X with a nail file instead of the awl. I would dig it. I need a nail file in my my daily carry routine. I find when I'm doing stuff, I often wind up with mangled fingernails, and if you don't address that, it can cause more problems than it's worth. So, my humble plea to Victorinox. They can't hear me over here. There's an ocean in between us. Next question comes from Kirk Preston, 4864. What knife would be the most viable for cracking peanuts and pistachios in a controlled and leveraged way? Perhaps there are certain features of knives that aren't the blade that can be used with a technique I'm not aware of. Nut knife, exclamation points. Comment section. Is there a technique involving not the blade of a knife that works well for cracking nuts? Because my first inclination is, heck, this is a multi-tool answer again. There's another answer where a fixed blade may not be the answer, but not a folder is the answer again. I guess there is a theme to today's episode. Pair of pliers, right? Multi-tool. You could even, if you want to keep it a little more classy, there's Victorinox models or this cool Boker Plus Tech tool here with nice, precise little nut crackers right there. But this is where I'm opening it up to the comments section. Let us know. All right, now we come to our final question of the day, which is, of course, our most serious question of the day, which comes from Joe Lopez 3954. Hey, DCA and Thomas. If I were stranded on a desert island with nothing but my best friend, a volleyball, what would be the perfect knife for catching fish, processing crabs, making fire, building a raft, and performing emergency dental surgery? Many thanks. You just want me to make a Tom Hanks joke. Well, good news, I'm gonna do it. What you want is this, right here. It is the Work Tough Wilson. It is awesome. It's essentially like a sheep's foot styled kukri, I would say. And it could do all of those things very well. But just like Tom Hanks and his friend the volleyball, if you're not paying attention for just a second, you're gonna miss on stuff like these. Because when Work Tough drops happen, typically they sell out pretty quickly. So if you're not looking, they're gonna get away from you real quick. Just like this Wilson. And that's all we have time for today. Let me know what you thought of my answers down in the comment section. If you've got some alternate suggestions, especially that nut cracking one, love to hear them down in the comments as well. And keep leaving your questions down below. Did I say that already? Keep submitting your new questions down in the comments. If you want to get your hands on any of these knives here, except for that Wilson, because it drifted away from you, unfortunately. There it is. That's the name of the movie.
What?
But check out the links in the description that'll take you to KnifeCenter.com. And don't forget about our long-running Knife Rewards program, letting you earn money back towards a future knife when you buy one of these knives today. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center, and that's Thomas behind the camera. We're signing off. See you next time.